Welcome to the HowTheyLostWeight.com interview program, where you'll learn weight loss strategies and techniques from real people who've successfully lost weight and kept it off. We invite you to sit forward, get ready to take notes, and join your host and weight loss expert, David Fry, as he interviews today's weight loss guest.
Hello, and welcome to the HowTheyLostWeight.com podcast. My name is David Fry. I am your host for this podcast, and I am the chief interviewer. And today I want to introduce you to Josh Meyer. Now, Josh lives in Houston, Texas. He's 29 years old. He's a professional internet marketer, and he has lost over 50 pounds. And in this interview, listen carefully, because he's going to give you a lot of really good tips and strategies that I know you're going to be able to use in your weight loss journey. So here is my interview with Josh Meyer.
Hey, Josh. Thank you for taking time to be on the How They Lost Weight program. We're really excited that you're here today. And so, welcome.
Well, thanks, Dave. I'm excited to be here and share my experience with you.
Great. Let's just jump into our questions. First of all, just tell us where you're from and what you do for a living.
All right. So I am from Houston, Texas, born and raised Texan, and I am an internet marketer / web developer for a firearms legal defense company. So basically, I sit in a chair all day long.
Okay, and how old are you and what's your height?
I'm 29 years old, and I am just shy of 6 foot.
Okay, what was your starting weight or your highest weight, and then what weight are you at right now?
So I began at 283 pounds, pretty hefty, and I cut all the way down to this morning I'm 233.
Excellent. And tell us, how long did it take you to lose that weight?
So it actually came off faster than I thought I could shave it off. I took it off in about 4 months.
And what motivated you to finally lose weight?
Well, it's funny because, you know, I've always known I was overweight, and I guess I've always wanted to be healthier, but what finally got me going was a friend of mine that I go to church with started a weight loss group, a challenge with other friends that we go to church with. And basically we all put a little bit of money into a pot, and then there was a system that we had to follow. And so I went ahead and joined that with my wife, and you know, it was pretty competitive, and I got super into it. So that challenge is what got me going.
So tell us, what specific things did you do to lose the weight? And try and be as specific as possible so that our listeners might be able to replicate your results.
Okay, so it all comes down to this challenge we did, and the thing that really made it work for me is that it was very systematic. You know, it's simple and it was systematic. So there was a list of things that we had to do every day to get points, and let me just tell you what a few of them were. We had to eat 2 servings of fruit a day. We had to eat 3 servings of vegetables a day. We had to drink 64 ounces of water a day. And then what I think made the biggest difference was we had to cut all of our sugar out except for 1 day a week. We kind of got a free day to do whatever we wanted. So that's what happened on the food side of things. But then we also had to work out at least 5 days a week for 45 minutes or longer. So those were the rules of the challenge. And in the beginning, the first few weeks were pretty tough. I started having sugar withdrawals pretty heavily around day 2 or 3. That came with some headaches and stuff like that. But by the end of the second week, I'd say it just got easier from there. I started feeling pretty good. I started seeing the weight come off. I noticed that I was mentally more sharp and more alert, and kind of all those things compounded and helped me become more motivated. So,
and tell us about your support system. I know that you did this challenge, and I guess that in itself is a support system. So tell us about how that helped you.
Absolutely, and I'll say that the support system might be the single most important thing. So my wife was my biggest support because she also did this challenge. One of the biggest things was, and she was in this with me, the food that came into the house was very regulated. So a lot of the temptations went away because, you know, she would go shopping she would plan all our meals out about a week in advance, and there was no more sugar coming into the house, right? So I'll say, if you've got somebody in your house on your team helping you achieve that goal, it makes it just tremendously easier. And then we also had a Facebook group with all our friends. We had to check in once a week and post our weight loss. And, you know, most of us don't have enough self-discipline to set some rules and abide by them. But I sure didn't want to let everybody down that I was in the challenge with. So that was probably just, it was extremely motivational for me. I didn't want to check in and say that I went up in a given week. That would be, you know, kind of embarrassing and make me feel kind of lousy. So the support system was tremendous. And the other part of that was I rarely work out alone, even now that, you know, our challenge is over now, but I still rarely work out alone. Like 98% of the time, I go out with somebody in my support system and we go work out together. So I'd say without that support system, I don't think I possibly could have, you know, lost 50 pounds.
What mindset change did you have to make to successfully lose the weight?
I think that I was dishonest with myself, and I think a lot of other people are too. So I would tell myself that, yes, I was overweight, but a lot of it was because I'm kind of a larger frame guy in general, or I would look at what is recommended for, you know, a 6-foot male to be weight-wise, and I would say, well, if I got down to that weight, I would be unhealthily skinny. Like all these excuses, right? And really, I got to the point where I accepted the fact that I was really overweight, and in a sense, I tried to become okay with that reality. Not okay that I was overweight, but I just tried to embrace that situation that I had gotten very big and it was my fault, and that I had absolute control over that situation. Because when we make excuses, you know, when I make an excuse about my weight, what I'm doing is I'm relinquishing my control to my excuse. So I owned it, and that was probably the biggest single thing that helped me.
How do you control your temptations to overeat or eat the wrong food? Because we are all tempted at one time or another to cheat on our eating plan.
So I think planning is a really big part of it. Excuse me. Like I said, my wife, she plans the meals out ahead of time, and if the meals aren't planned out ahead of time, it's very difficult to make a healthy decision. So that's a big part of it. Another big thing is sometimes I do want to eat a big greasy meal, and every once in a while I will go do that. But I think the important thing is on those very occasional meals where I do that, it's important to know that you're going to go up in weight and not to let that discourage you, and just realize that you've got to get right back on it the next day. Because early on in my weight loss, when I would eat a big meal and I would go up a few pounds, it would be discouraging for me, and I would want to give up on my, you know, on my system. So by knowing and accepting that every once in a while I was going to cheat and I was going to go up, it allowed me to not really get discouraged about it, but get right back on it the next day and go back down. So
you mentioned that you exercise.
I do.
What kind of exercising do you do right now, and when do you do it? Like what time of the day and stuff like that?
So I pretty much run, and that's pretty much all I do. It was really difficult at first. As a man at 283 pounds, you can imagine that you're not going to go very far on your jog, right? I could probably crank out a mile, and then I was huffing and puffing super heavily. After a few months here, I'm up to about 4 or 5 miles. I do that 3 or 4 or 5 times a week still, and I like to do it in the morning. You know, I've got a young family and a full-time job and other responsibilities, and if I don't do that workout first thing in the morning, Dave, I know I'm not going to get it in. There's just no other time for me. And I also think it just helps me. It helps my whole day. You know, working out used to be a burden for me, but after 4 months of this, if I don't go jog in the morning, it makes my day worse. I dread not going for that run now.
You're listening to the HowTheyLostWeight.com interview program.
Okay, I want you to describe your healthy eating plan or your diet that you're following right now. By that I mean, tell me what you eat for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, what do you eat for snacks, or if you have any dessert or dessert alternatives. Be specific.
Okay, so for breakfast, I usually like to get some protein in the morning. I've just done my workout. I get a little bit hungry afterward, and I like to stick to things like eggs with a bunch of vegetables in them, is probably what I do most frequently. I also like to make green smoothies in the morning, so I'll throw some spinach in a blender with some fruit and maybe a little bit of honey or something like that to sweeten it up just a bit. And I'd say 80% of the time, those are the two things I eat in the morning. I try to have a bigger breakfast and a smaller dinner. For lunch, I like doing salads. What I find is if I can eat 2 salads a day, I can lose weight and I can keep going down. The trick for me is to keep the salads delicious, right? I'm pretty particular with what I eat on my salads. I like a high quality, very tasty salad. So usually that'll consist of like some greens, some grilled chicken, and then some kind of homemade dressing, something like that. It really makes it delicious. And it's actually one of my favorite things to eat now is salad. I also like to go out with my coworkers a lot, so there's a few salad places that I like to go to with them. For dinner, I like to do salads as much as possible. Sometimes we'll branch out and we'll do like some fish or some chicken, stuff like that. For desserts, again, I'll eat almost anything I want for dessert, but it's about not eating a ton of it. So maybe I'll have a scoop of ice cream. Maybe I'll have, maybe we'll go out somewhere and share a dessert, my wife and I, instead of eating one dessert each. So things like that. I just really like the portion control when it comes to dessert. And when I started this thing, if I were to make a bowl of ice cream, I would put as much ice cream in that bowl as possible. By the end of our challenge, though, we actually ended it with an ice cream social type thing. And no kidding, Dave, I had 1 scoop of ice cream, and at the end of it, that was all the sugar I could handle. And honestly, it felt kind of disgusting. So those are some of the things I like to eat.
I know you have 2 young children, so how do you integrate your eating plan to accommodate the rest of the family?
So again, that really comes down to having a good support network. My wife has been really good at kind of making them something simple. If we know they're not going to eat what we're eating because they don't like greens and stuff like that, she'll prepare them something separate. It's a little more inconvenient, but healthy eating is rarely convenience anyways. So since my wife and I were doing this together, we were able to eat the same things, the healthy foods, and we just kind of had to make sure that we had something separate for the kids when we knew they wouldn't eat what we liked.
Do you add any supplements to your diet?
I do not yet.
Okay, tell our listening audience who are going through their own weight loss journeys, what are your 3 best pieces of advice?
Okay, so the first big piece of advice I have for everybody is get a fitness friend and plan to work out together at least 5 days a week. Like I said, even now, I will not work out by myself. I will not run by myself. Establishing a good friend or a few friends that will do that with you every day, 5 days a week, it's invaluable. And like I said, I couldn't do it without my network. The second piece of advice is plan your meals ahead of time. Like I said, it's super difficult to just create a healthy meal if you haven't planned it out. So I'd say there's a saying, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I firmly believe that applies here. And the third piece of advice I have is, and this is something that I'm very passionate about and I did very well, is track your progress daily. Now, when I was losing my weight, I would actually weigh in twice a day. I would weigh in at the beginning of the day. I would weigh in at the end of the day. And I actually had a line graph that showed my weight loss over time. And the reason that this is so important is because people get discouraged when they have a day where they go up in weight or maintain weight. So I did some math this earlier today, and what I found was 39% of the days during this challenge, I either went up in weight or I stayed even in weight. Now that's discouraging, right? But when you look at your line graph and you see the overall trend, you see how much weight you've lost, you see that you're on the right track. So tracking that progress daily was one of the most motivational things I did. 39%, that's almost 3 out of 7 days a week that I went up in weight, right? So like I said, it can be super discouraging. It can make you want to quit. But if you see your overall trend, then it helps you stay motivated even on those days where you go up. No matter how well you eat, no matter how much you work out, you're not going to go down in weight every single day. So track your progress daily, and I think that's probably the tip that I'm most passionate about.
Do you have any last and parting thoughts to our weight loss listeners?
Yes, I was overweight for years. I still am a little overweight, and I'm still losing weight. If I can do it, anybody else can do it. I mean, 283 pounds, that is a lot of person. That is a big person. So if I can run 5 miles after only 4 months of this, I believe that anybody can get into it and that they can do it. I just think it's important that people keep it simple. It cannot be overly complex. It needs to be simple enough that you as an individual believe you can stick to the plan, right? I mean, a lot of this is about the planning. So figure out something that's simple enough for you to stick to. This is more about self-discipline than anything else, in my opinion. And something that was unexpected for me throughout this journey was I experienced so many benefits from my lifestyle changes that my weight loss has almost become a secondary reward. It's just a life-changing experience. Like I said, I'm more alert. I feel more connected to those around me as a result of that. I feel sharper at work. I feel better about myself. The weight loss is obviously amazing as well, but that's just one of the many, many benefits. And had I known how many benefits I would experience from doing this, I probably would have done it years earlier. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I think at the very beginning, like eating healthy and working out might seem like the worst thing in the world. But a few months down the line, anyone who creates a system and sticks to it, it'll seem like the best thing in the world. Like I said, junk food now, I used to crave it like crazy. And now if I eat a little junk food, I kind of feel gross, that eating salads and working out and being healthy, that becomes the easy thing to do over time. You just get so motivated after a while that it becomes what you want to do.
Josh, thank you so much for spending the time. That was a great interview. And for our listeners, I want to tell you that I've known Josh personally since he was just a little boy. And he's all grown up. He's got a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful children, and he is someone that I respect greatly in this world. He is one of the smartest people I've ever known, and he's overcome a whole lot of challenge. Weight loss is just one. He's overcome a whole lot of challenge to be a very, very successful person. So thank you, Josh, for being on our show today.
All right, Dave. Hey, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, that was a great interview with Josh, and let's just go over a couple of things that stood out. Number one, he said, get a fitness friend. It's so important to have an accountability partner when you're starting out in your weight loss journey. And even while you're going through your weight loss journey, you know that if you don't want to let your friend down. And so that is always going to help you to do the things that you know that you've committed to do. Number two, plan your meals. Okay, he mentioned that it was super difficult just to create a healthy meal that you haven't planned out. And that is so true. When you have a plan in front of you, it crystallizes what you need to do. And actually, when things are very clear like that, it actually motivates you to do it even more. And the last one is to track your progress. And he said that he was very passionate about tracking his project. Of course, he's kind of a technical guy, and so he was really good at it. But when you put like a weight loss chart on your wall and you start counting off the days and you show what your weight is every single day, then it motivates you when you can visually see your weight going down. And so track your progress. Thank you, Josh, for this wonderful interview. I hope you guys learned a lot. I want to invite you to go over to the howtheylostweight.com site, because on that site, I have an ebook called the 21-Day Weight Loss Meal Plan. And in that meal plan, everything is done for you. There's recipes, there is a meal schedule, there's a shopping list, all there for it's all done for you in that ebook, and it's free to download. So go to howtheylostweight.com, click on ebooks, and go and download the 21-Day Weight Loss Meal Plan. It's been fantastic talking to Josh. I want to thank all you listeners for being on the podcast today, and I'll see you in our next interview.
Thank you for listening to the HowTheyLostWeight.com interview program. We hope you were inspired today and discovered a new tip, technique, or strategy to help you on your journey to lose weight, get fit, and stay healthy for life.